Okay, guys, I guess we're rolling. So anyway, hope everybody can see us. I don't do too many Facebook Lives, so you guys forgive me if I screw a bunch of stuff up. This is the Sub2 panel Q&A that we scheduled for today with William Bronschick and Jeff Coffman. Bill Bronschick had a situation this morning. He is going to have to reschedule, so you're stuck with Jeff and I. Hope that's okay. I think Jeff and I can probably cover most questions that come along. And so anyway, Jeff, most of you guys probably know Jeff. He posts in here from time to time. He also runs a great group, Sub2 Empire. But I'm going to let Jeff introduce himself and tell you a little bit about him and his experience, and then we'll get going. Hey, Jeff.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. We talked a little bit before this. I'm a little disappointed that Bill couldn't join us, but yeah, we're going to manage this just fine. But welcome, everyone. Thanks for having me on, William. My name is Jeff Coffman. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. I am a Marine Corps veteran. I am the owner and the creator of Sub2 Empire, sub2empire.com, where we coach and mentor students from all over the country, teach people how to become, I like to say, how to become rock star real estate investors with an emphasis on creative financing. I just absolutely love doing creative deals. I am a husband to Shelly Kaufman. You'll see her interacting quite a bit in the group, although she's real estate's not really her thing. She's a big time yoga person. She's a yoga therapist. I am the father of two. Both of them are out of the house, grown, and I am a grandfather of two. And I know I still can't get used to that, but it's a fact. So a little bit about me, how I got into creative financing. It was really kind of a trial by fire thing. It was quite by mistake. I did hire a mentor when I got into this business, and I did kind of understand what creative financing and Sub2 was about, but I had no idea that I was going to be thrown into the fire like I was. And kind of make a long story short for you folks, the first 3 deals that I did were all Sub2 deals, and I couldn't find a decent title company or attorney or anything like that to help me close these deals. So I ended up closing them myself. Made tons of mistakes. Probably would never want to repeat those mistakes for sure. But to summarize that first year in this business, I replaced my W-2 income in the first 3 months in this business, all through creative financing. So, and I was a government contractor. I was making pretty good money. And so, I was sold right then and there. I said, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And since then, between myself and some of my JV partners, we're working on number 73 right now. We actually should be a little bit higher than that, but we're working on number 73 right now. And, hopefully get that one closed and continue to push forward.
Yeah.
So, little bit more, I guess why I love this creative deal so much. Number one, financing for these deals is already in place. So someone like me coming into this, I didn't have a savings account. What is that? What is a retirement account that you couldn't pilfer from time to time, So coming into it, I really needed a way to buy these houses without coming off of a lot of cash. And so this fit the bill perfectly for me. Number two is I get to help people that a lot of my peers in this business cannot help. Homes with very little equity. They may be even underwater a little bit. So, yeah, it's just a fantastic way. I get the best terms on my deals, obviously. And the biggest thing that I love about this is we talk about credit. You often say, William, that friends don't let friends do lease options.
That's for sure.
And I've adopted that as well, that mantra, because they're tricky. I'm actually going through one right now from about 5 years ago that I wish I'd never got involved in.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about Subject 2 for me is, I'm buying this house. I get legal title to this house, so I ultimately have all the control that I need, and I can direct my purchase and direct that real estate in any direction that I choose. So those are just a few of the reasons why I love it. But that's a little bit about me. I say, you need no introduction. So
I don't know about that. You guys know my story. I was a restaurant district manager and had been in the business for years. Ordered a late night infomercial Carlton Sheets course and started buying houses. Quit my job a year later and have been a bum ever since. So that's what I do. We don't buy very many houses now. It's I teach my students what I call 12 houses to freedom, how you can create $500,000 in income in 36 months buying 12 houses a year. So that's what we like to talk about. But anyway, we're going to get rolling here. We're starting off with several questions. And of course, you guys jump in here with any questions that you have, and we'll answer those. Jeff and I both work for ourselves. I think we've got some time this morning, so we'll hang out and talk for a little bit. I was disappointed too. Bill couldn't make it, but he did have an incident, and he said we need to reschedule. So we're going to have him on a little bit later. But hey, Joni, good to see you. William, Luke, good to see you on here. So we'll go ahead and get rolling with some of these questions. Let's see. Stuart asked, he said, I'd love to hear more about why you lean more toward contract for deed as an exit strategy as opposed to a lease option. I think Jeff just touched on that a little bit. But pretty much in a nutshell, the first 12 years I was an investor, I was a transaction engineer. I did whatever came along. And, we sold. Okay, I understand the terminology, and you can't say sold with a lease option, but we're in our group today, so we're gonna say it that way. Mm-hmm. We sold houses on lease option probably 80% of the time. And what you'll find if you do dispose of properties on lease option, most of those people aren't going to follow through. They're just not. You will get option consideration, but chances are that they're not going to come through and get financing. No matter what the book tells you, the guru tells you, whatever, it's just not going to happen. Probably 3/4 of the time or more. You find that to be true, Jeff? They're just not going to do it.
100%. We've been lucky recently. We're actually on the tail end of selling off all of our lease option properties, and right now we're at 50%.
Yeah. So yeah,
and that's not without struggle, by the way.
And part of that's probably the market.
Yeah.
That the market's 100%. Doing really well. They're going to make money right 100%. Now.
Yep.
To do it. But typically most of them aren't going to buy. They're tenants. And if you don't want to be a landlord, don't be a lease option seller, because you're a glorified landlord. I mean, in the best case scenario, they gave you enough money to fix everything when they moved out.
Yeah.
Am I right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just mirror that. The reason that I made the switch to contract for deed for me was exactly what you're saying. I discovered that even though the tenants that I was vetting, I was setting the bar a little bit higher for them. Obviously, we want them to become homeowners. What I found out relatively quickly, I'm talking within a couple of months of doing my first one, you're still a landlord. And if you don't like being a landlord, there are definitely people that have strategies for not letting their tenants know that they're a landlord, but ultimately, you're the landlord, and that's just, I'm a terrible landlord. I did not like it. It's just not something that I would ever even think about getting into again.
Well, what we're trying to create a lifestyle here that it has freedom. And when you're a landlord over a lot of properties, you don't have freedom. And, property management companies are a problem. They pad repair bills. They don't really manage their property. Mismanagement companies is basically what I call them. They're not looking out for your best interest. They're looking out for their own, and they're not making the money with the 8% or 10% they charge you of the rent. If the rent's $2,000 a month, they're only getting $200. And they're looking for other ways to make money. So, like I said, it comes down to when I sell a house, my disposition method, I really want it to be gone. And contract for deed, seller financing, 10% minimum down. That's the best way to make that happen. Yep. Most of those people are going to buy unless something really happens in their life and they have to walk away from 20,000 or whatever. Right. That's usually a significant thing. Walking away from $5,000 isn't that hard. Walking away from 20, a little bit more difficult. So
yeah, that hurts.
That's my reason for preferring.
Yeah, if you want to dig into the, I don't know if legal is the correct word that I want to use here, but if you want to dive into, if you're thinking about owner financing with contract for deed, obviously they are not getting legal title to this property. They're only getting equitable title to the property. So it is a somewhat of a risk mitigation strategy. It's less risky for you to sell on contract for deed than it is for you to say, sell on a mortgage wrap, which some of those folks down in Texas understand that they pretty much have to do that. But that's definitely one of the other reasons why I also opt for contract for deed over any other kind of exit strategy.
Which carries over into a question I think that William just had. Is a mirror wrap the safest thing for your buyer? And well, sure it is. I mean, when you mirror wrap, they're going to get legal title, but that's not something that you really want to do either. At least in my opinion, I think selling on a contract for deed gives your buyer all of the rights of ownership and tax deductions, homestead exemptions in most states. Their interest write-off. They have equitable title to the property, but you still have legal title, which means if there's equity and you want to pull it out, you can do a refinance. It's easier to get them out in most states. You just have more advantages. So we don't do mirror wraps. We just don't do it. We're not going to give them legal title. Now, if someone if I had a really strong buyer negotiator that said, listen, we want legal title of this property, what do we need to do? We'll put something in our contract that says, okay, X years of on-time payments, put an additional 5% down. If you put 20% down, we'll give you legal. We'll negotiate for sure. But as far as just a straight come in 8-10% down, they're on a contract for deed.
Yeah.
You agree with
that? There's some trickery that you can do down in Texas that I've discovered after helping a couple students go through a mortgage wrap. We decided to simplify things through using a trust, and it seems to work quite well. It's really clean. There's trusts are and I'm sure we're probably going to get into that a little bit more later, but trusts are definitely a great vehicle for, they're just so flexible. There's so many things you can do inside a trust once you have a trust established.
Right.
So, but yeah, you can actually, there's a way to give legal and equitable title to somebody inside a trust while still controlling that trust.
Oh yeah, well that's a rabbit trail. I mean, I think what you're talking about is selling the beneficial interest as personal property and using a UCC to secure that. Guys. Don't ask about that. That's a topic for another day for sure.
Sorry about that.
We're talking about Sub2 like 2.0 there. Something for sure. But so Rudy asked, how are you guys finding motivated seller leads? How are you finding people with VA loans? And you guys, Rudy, you're in the coaching group, so Jody did a video there a little while back, and I think Jeff Hug added on to that as far as how you can pull VA leads from PropStream. So there's still a way to do that. and far as getting your leads, your VA leads from there? Did you have any suggestions other than pulling those from PropStream, Jeff?
I'm going to be very honest. I don't market any different for, I mean, I know we tend to focus on, we're focusing on Sub2 here, but my marketing, I kind of like to say, market like a wholesaler, buy like a creative financier. So my marketing I don't necessarily focus on just those types of loans. I go out and I market as if, I just do a regular, kind of like what a wholesaler would do. They would go out and send out their mail, or they would do their whatever channel they want to use. The only thing is I get to tweak different things. Obviously, you can kind of narrow in on equity for that type. If you're looking for those types of deals, I don't really care necessarily about the loan itself. I care more about the numbers in the deal. So, but yeah, I definitely, you can definitely find in PropStream, I know for a fact, VA loans and I think, and I'm not sure, maybe you can answer this. I'm not sure, you can't per se actually go in and search exactly for a VA loan, can you? Or do they have that functionality now?
Well, they took that out, but there's a workaround for that.
Okay.
Where
I'm not aware of that workaround.
Yeah,
so.
where you pull your mortgages, and then you have to pull them out into a spreadsheet and sort them by mortgage type. So yeah, it's kind of hidden now, but yeah, there's a way. Okay. Hey, Sammy, good to see you guys in Texas. I know y'all are having a tough time out there. Hope you're doing well. Kevin, good to see you. Terry, glad you came on with us this morning. Question, William's actually adding on to his question about the wrap. He said he was talking about protecting the seller in the case that you default with that wrap mortgage. And yeah, you're probably right about that too. I mean, I know some people have talked about giving their sellers a performance mortgage or a performance deed of trust, or depending on what state you're in. And sure, you can do that. But again, if any way possible, you want to avoid anything else being put out there as a lien against that property. And I'll tell you why I don't like it. The main reason that I don't like to do that, yes, it's added protection for your seller, but a lot of the people we deal with are in distress. They're getting divorces, they're in foreclosure, they got some other stuff going on, and those people tend to ghost. And you don't want to sell that thing on a contract for deed. And when your buyer raises their hand in 2 years, 3 years and says, hey, I got a refi in 2 weeks, and you can't find your seller to satisfy that note, you got a problem. So, I mean, yeah, your title company can insure around it and do those things, but I'm all about keeping this thing simple. I'm not smart enough to figure out a lot of things that need to be done when there's a problem. So, I don't want to be panicking when I've got a $50,000 payday waiting on me and I can't find a seller who's just satisfying literally a mortgage or deed of trust that was in place just as security for them. They're not getting anything. They just have to sign off on it. And yeah, you could probably put some kind of satisfaction in escrow, maybe. But it's just not necessary in most cases. Most sellers won't even ask for that because they're not aware of it. They don't know how it works. So would I do that? Probably not. If it were a screen, it's all negotiable, but in general, I don't do it. How about you, Jeff?
No, I think it's definitely, it's definitely down lower on the order of preferred methods to buy for me as well. So I don't do it. I have done it. I don't do it on a regular basis. I just prefer to get the deed, be done with it, and move on.
Yeah. Hey, Luke asks, so how are you finding deals right now? Your JV partners, where are most of these things coming up? He says, pay-per-click and mail has pretty much dried up. And of course, gosh, we know, we're doing 50% of our business from foreclosures, and now that's pretty much non-existent. So what are you seeing with your JV partners and you, Jeff?
Honestly, a lot of my JV partners are, as simple as it sounds, driving for dollars.
Mm-hmm.
That is still, I mean, it's definitely time consuming. There's a lot of work involved in it. You go out, you drive, you get these, some of them don't have a means to track what they're doing. So they're writing this stuff down on paper. It's just hard work.
Right.
But they are still, what we're experiencing, they're still the best leads that you can get. It's just, they're hidden gems that nobody else can get to.
Right.
And especially all of you folks right now with this snow that's blanketed the entire country, a very, very good strategy. Right now, you should be out driving those neighborhoods,
right,
looking for obviously driveways that are not shoveled or cleaned off. There's no tracks going up the driveway. I literally just had a student who's got a fantastic lead right now. I am really hoping she's out there getting this thing under contract, but it's exactly what happened to her. They got this snow, and she's got a really, really good lead.
Yeah.
Other than that, FSBOs obviously are a very, very good. They're always going to be good. The problem is they're kind of drying up as well. But then, we do a lot of I do a lot of mailing, and it still is. It's always going to be, in my opinion, it is always going to be a one of the best ways to get in front of somebody. So we like to stick with kind of traditional stuff. I know we've got, a ton of cold callers going out, and I'm talking about true cold callers, not like, not like you have a listing on Zillow and you call them up. I'm talking about people that are just going out and absolutely hammering these lists. And you are about to see a huge change in legislation and regulation in that, using that marketing channel. It's going to be catastrophic for some people. So,
well, I agree on that. I tell you, the texting and the just general calling, blanketing neighborhoods and that sort of thing, that's so out of hand right now. I mean, we started doing texting a few months ago, and it's somewhat effective, but just in the last few months, we've seen a major change. I mean, whether it's responses or even a lot of responses that are so negative and obscene, they're just sick of it. But I still believe, the targeted cold calling, you can go through Zillow or Craigslist or wherever you're doing, take a look at that property. If it's got, some of the indicators that they may be motivated, we go ahead and do a search on it. PropStream, do they have equity? Does the house look like it's vacant? You call some of those people, you can still get some deals that way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I just, I think, I don't know. I've been to, in fact, I got a little war scar right here from a house that I cold called that exact way. I went and looked at the house the other day, and it, walking through the house, inspecting it, and it I hit my head.
Wow. But be careful
definitely
out there,
that's never gonna, I don't think that's ever gonna leave. I just think that I think very, very soon we're gonna see some major changes in these automated cold calling, automated texting. These dialers are out there. I couldn't put a date on that, but I when I talked about this war scar that I've got here, one of the first things that the lady asked me was, "Are you one of those guys that is constantly blowing up my phone? How do I stop you guys from doing that?" And she was aggravated. And
well, I mean, I'm anxious to see that happen, because that'll make what we do more effective
100%.
again. When they're not getting hammered, 10 times a day from other people, and we call and we're interested, we'll get the deal. So. Yeah, it's great. Okay, so William adds on to the question about the default. He said the normal Sub2 contract is somewhat silent on the default issue. And, William, I just got to tell you, and that's because you don't want to raise a bunch of flags with a seller. It's not like we're not upfront and open with them. If they ask the question, we'll discuss it. But, depending on the seller's motivation, may not even ask, what happens if you don't pay? Now, people that aren't super motivated, we get that question a lot. What happens if you don't pay? And we're so bold in our answer. Well, if we don't pay, you're credit will be fried. I mean, that's literally what I'll tell them.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been doing this for 21 years. We're going into this thing to make a profit. We've got a great reputation, and I mean, we've got references and that sort of thing. But you will get that question from time to time. And what I find is that most people are just, first of all, they're surprised when you're so open with what'll happen and you don't try to dance around it. But you're correct. Most contracts don't say, by the way, if we don't pay, your credit is toast, and so on and so forth. There's just no reason to raise that potential problem unless it comes up. You agree with that?
Yeah, the way I like to approach this is my sellers, if I'm going to do this type of deal with them, my sellers, they have to be on my team.
Yeah.
I make them a team member, and I am 100%. And I just tell them, hey, if this, if we're going to do this, this is going to be a lot of work. There's some risk involved, but if we can get through this, we can get and get this done. There is a great reward at the end of all this. But you have to be on my team. We have to be. We're essentially, we are somewhat business partners.
Right.
So if you're not fully on board with this, if there's anything that I need to clarify with you, if there's anything that you need explained, I'm 100% happy to do it. But I simply cannot do a deal with you unless we are in tandem here, unless we're in agreement on what's going to happen. When the question comes up about, what if you don't pay? What happens if you don't pay? My go-to response to that, and I'm no salesman, and this is not some kind of magic, some magic sauce or anything. My response is almost always, I understand your concern, but you have to understand, first of all, I'm not trying to sell you on this. I need you on my team, but you have to understand, we are going to be putting money into this deal. We're putting some value into this home. It doesn't make any sense for me to add value to this home to turn around and lose it by not paying on it. And that's, there's a lot of other things, a lot of other factors that go into doing these deals with these folks. But that is the most glaring, obvious thing to me is, look, we're putting our time, our money potentially into this deal. It would be the silliest thing on earth for me to walk away from this and lose that money. I'm an investor, that's just the way that I feel about it, and that's what I explain to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So Luke asked, how have the mortgage moratoriums changed? How many true motivated sellers are available? My answer to that, I mean, like I said, most Sub2 type of creative investors, a lot of their business was foreclosures, and it hasn't stopped all of them. I mean, we've seen a trend for more foreclosures here in our county just in the last month or so. We went from having 75 to 100 a month to having 3 a month. And now it's back up in the 11, 15 or so. My theory on it is that conventional financing sort of followed along with government. Okay, we don't want to be the bad guys that are foreclosing, so we're going to lay low for a little bit. And I think they're starting to, dip their toe back in and say, okay, we're going to take some of these. We're not just going to let this thing ride. So yeah, it's down significantly, but there are still people that can't pay and move. And what you'll do is you pursue the foreclosures that are there, go on out, take a look. I'm telling you, people that are in foreclosure, and this is true whether there's moratorium or not, whether you've got 100 in your county this month or you've only got 15, you go out there, you drive around to the ones that interest you, take a look. If they're listed for the auction and the house is vacant, that is gold, because they've already said, I'm out. Mm-hmm. You skip trace those people, you find them, and they'll sign pretty much anything you put in front of them. The trick is locating them and getting them to pick up the phone.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that too, if you'll allow me. Sure. What we're seeing a lot of, obviously, is a lot of deferments and rescheduling of these foreclosures. So, we like you, we had a huge dip in filings. It's now coming back. You can get out on in our public records, and you can see that foreclosures are back on the books now. But what we are seeing a lot of are these, they're moving those sale dates out.
Mm-hmm.
So a good tip for everyone here, if you're out looking at pre-foreclosures, and you see one that's got an auction that's coming up within the next week or something like that, you know, and then, or maybe say you've got an auction that's in a couple of days, you know, generally, and I'm in a non-judicial state. So I kind of have a little bit of an advantage over the judicial state folks, but you've got a couple of days till the auction date. Don't disregard that. Don't disregard that foreclosure at all, because a lot of these are being pushed off. So you definitely implement a some sort of follow-up system with those, because I'm seeing those being pushed off a couple of weeks. That's plenty of time to get one of these deals done. So I'm seeing that in my local market. I'm seeing it in a couple of other markets as well.
Right.
Lots of it.
Yep. Brandon asked, is PropStream effective for finding Sub2 deals? If so, which criteria should I be using? I'll tell you, Brandon, in my opinion, the best one is the VA, targeting the VA. You can also look for properties that have had a notice of default filed, non-owner occupied right now with the eviction moratoriums, and just chancing the people that aren't getting paid. Out of state owners, not on owner occupied. They probably have the property rented. If they live out of state, that's probably, like I said, it's a chance. Yeah, they're just the most possible motivated sellers out there. You can't really know until you speak to them. That sort of thing. You have anything to add to that, Jeff?
I mean, I don't know how, I can't even begin to tell you how many leads we've got from folks who have tenants that aren't paying. I mean, it is just an absolute, it's a gold mine right now. And the problem that you're running into is you have tenants that are wise. They have smartened up to what's going on. They know what they can get away with. And so we are definitely still targeting absentee owners 100%. Of course, we don't have to abide by, like we talked about a little bit earlier, we don't have to really abide by the equity constraints or requirements of a lot of our competition. But you really need to come up with a strategy for helping these tenants out versus trying, if you're going to go in with a kind of confrontational attitude that you're going to fight this tenant to get this tenant out, it's probably not the best approach. And again, I come back to into kind of building a little mini team there, where I work with my landlords and I work with my tenants. It's a requirement when I get one of these leads. It's a requirement that the landlord gives me access to the tenant.
Right.
If I have access to the tenant, I can really make their life. And I'm working in tandem with the landlord. We can all figure out a way to get this tenant out, get them moved on to something else, and make it worth their while. And then, of course, we go in, we can get the deed and be done with it. So,
well, and I mean, you need to be making that a condition in your contract when you're dealing with someone in this situation, that, part of your due diligence process is making sure that you can work out a satisfactory arrangement with the tenant. And there are ways to deal with that. I mean, it's all negotiable. I mean, you're going to know immediately when you go talk to this person if they're going to be somebody you can deal with. Don't overlook, and for some reason people don't even think about this, but money goes a long way. Don't overlook cash for keys. I've got a student right now that actually we just did a podcast together this past week, and she's closing on a deal here in a couple of weeks. That was a situation where they had a tenant that hadn't paid in 8 months. And she's getting this no money down, basically working out something with the tenant. And she's got a partner, and they sort of good cop, bad cop. And so they worked out a deal with the tenant, and they're going to sell it with seller financing, and they're going to use their buyer's down payments, pay the tenant off. It's a no money down deal. It works for everybody. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. People that aren't getting paid are a good source.
Here's a just a quick little pro tip. This is one of the things that sets us apart a little bit in my market anyway. What we like to do is for every type of demographic that we're marketing to, whether that be absentee owners, divorcees, whatever it might be. Cash for key. Let's take absentee owners for example. Cash for keys is, I think, pretty much everybody's go-to, but there's not many people in your market that are going to have a system or a program for helping that tenant get to their next destination. And so with us, we have a system designed for every one of those scenarios. So let's stack cash for keys on top of a relocation program or a relocation advocacy program, and let's help them get out and get to their next destination. So that's just something that we do, and we do that with. We have it's even in our marketing. We have an advocacy program for just about every type of marketing that we do.
Well, that's smart, especially in your market. I know you guys have a super active tenants association or whatever that's making a lot of noise. I know Kim Tucker talks about it a lot. They've hired lawyers and they're really doing a lot out there. That the landlords are bad guys.
Yeah. I mean, we've got particularly in St. Louis. I know I'm not going to spend much time on it, but we have 81 or 82 different municipalities all crammed into this little small area. So there may be other areas of the country that are similar, and they all have their own landlord tenant regulations.
Right.
And so a lot of them seem to have, it's either through osmosis, where they pick up on what one municipality is doing and it starts to spread, or they just see that it's almost like a competition. It's almost like, well, this area is doing this, here's what we need to do. And it's just for the sake of creating more rules. It seems like it's not, some of it doesn't even make sense, but
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, I guess having a way to help be above and beyond just simply doing kind of what everybody else is doing is a strategy that we like to use. The number one rule in business that we're all taught, everybody knows this, is you've got to be unique. And if you're out there in the trenches and you're walking these neighborhoods, how are you going to stand out? And that's one of the ways that we decided to that's one of the routes we decided to take, is to create an advocacy program for everything we do.
Yep. So smart. Hey, Jonah, good to see you. Let's see, Tammy's on here. Farouk, Gus, good to see you this morning. Sam, glad to see all of y'all here today. Let's see, next question. Well, Terry asked, she said she missed the intro. Jeff, do you do Sub2s exclusively? I think you'll do whatever makes sense, won't you?
Well, I'm in an area, you guys got to understand, I'm in an area where I stay mostly local myself. I do, obviously, we have students all over the place. We help them close deals, but if you're in an area where a lot of business is done in older homes, sometimes it doesn't make sense to buy those houses subject to, because it needs so much work that it just the numbers just don't work out. So we're kind of, my hand's kind of forced to be that transaction engineer that William was talking about earlier. I kind of have to be that way because the areas that we work in, they're just not cookie cutter. It varies so greatly. So no, I don't do strictly subject to. There's a lot of owner finance that goes on here because they are older homes, and a lot of them do have, they'll have a lot of equity in them, or a lot of them are even owned outright. So we will pick up houses using different strategies, but our exit is always going to be the same. It is going to be a contract for deed, but no, I don't strictly buy subject to. One thing I don't do anymore is lease option, though. I will not do a sandwich lease option ever. No. Terrible.
The only time that I see where that may be become beneficial is when the market finally does start tanking. And some of these houses that, you know, these people that own them, they just want to get in and not have to make that payment. And that might be a viable strategy. We've just been talking about that lately. I don't like lease options, period. But you may have to shift a little bit when, you know, markets like ours in Colorado or Las Vegas or something, when you can get in to, I mean, we're actually talking about that, looking for our house probably after the market tanks. You know, when you're talking about buying an upper end property that you can get in for the mortgage payment amount on the promise, at least the seller thinks, I mean, you may buy it at some point in the future and they just want to get rid of it. That might be smart at that time. But just in general, just buying single family houses for investment purposes, no way, not at all. Yeah. So William added on to his question. He said going back to the contract not addressing default, he said it was raised by a seller's attorney when she reviewed the contract. Well, of course it will. That's what the attorneys do. You know, they fall into stuff and mess everything up. So Bill's not here today, so we can talk about them. But
well, I mean, if you're picking up a property owner finance anyway, I mean, it would make sense that generally you're not going to be picking it up. First of all, I would not be picking up a property without legal title. First of all, so you're going to have a recorded deed of trust or recorded mortgage, and you're going to have a note, just like they're the lender. So having that in your it's kind of moot to have it in your contract. It's going to be they're going to be fully legally protected with a recorded deed of trust or mortgage anyway. So if you stop paying, they get to foreclose. It doesn't need to be that complicated. And that's, you know, I listen to Bill Bronschick quite a bit, and he's one of the attorneys that I definitely respect. But boy, these attorneys can complicate things. I mean, they really
attorneys and real estate agents.
Yeah.
Hey, if there are any agents on, guys, you know, you guys are accepted as always, but in general, yeah, agents can mess stuff up too. Attorneys will tell you, yeah, it's illegal, you can't do it. It violates the due on sale clause. You'll go to jail. Yeah, no due on sale jail, right?
Yep.
Rudy, hey Sam, enjoy your swim. Have a good time today. Rudy asked, how do you help a tenant relocate if they're not paying what landlord would accept them? So how do you do that, Jeff, with your program?
That is tricky. One thing that we do is, one thing that we have offered, and again, this is a numbers game. What we do is we make sure that we're working in tandem with the current landlord and the tenant. And when they move on to their next property, we are actually we're going to try and let me just give you an example. Better way to explain this. We have a seller who is a tired landlord. He's ready to get rid of this tenant. We're going to pay him, a certain amount for this property. We have the tenant moving out. We found her a new place, but it's going to cost us a certain amount of money. We want to be able to guarantee that future landlord a certain number of months rent. Okay. So what we do is we negotiate with our seller so that we don't have to come up with so much money out of pocket to do it. So we will negotiate with him. We say, hey, we can get this person into this other property, but it's going to cost you this much. And we're only doing that so that our future landlord is protected for a certain amount of months. Mm-hmm. And it's not the answer to the whole problem. I mean, there are circumstances. For example, we have another one where the tenant would definitely qualify for Section 8, 100%. Now, I mean, we're getting into kind of lower income areas and what have you, but this one particular one that we're working on is the tenant would definitely qualify for Section 8, but they don't have a Section 8 voucher, and they are not paying their rent.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we turn around, we have an advocacy program that we point them in the direction of Section 8. We get them signed up with Section 8, and we get them into that next property with the guarantee that there will be a Section 8 subsidy for that future landlord. So, I mean, these are the types of things that I think most people are going. I mean, your competition probably is not going to go to those extremes. I mean, so again, we get paid for what we do, and that's just one of the things that we're willing to do if we've got a good deal on our hands. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it's there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a big reward for us.
Well, I mean, it's just something that that may be helpful right in our current market. I mean, it's not like you'd have to do it forever.
Yeah,
but get them qualified, pointing them to the Section 8 program, getting them on that sort of thing. It's really kind of what we do for people in foreclosure when we first try to help them save their house. We work with them basically for free, just trying to get them to make contact with a lender, show them what can be done, because they just don't know. So it's really about educating people, and the karma's good, and then you become known in the community. You can't buy that kind of reputation, for helping people, and that's really what we're supposed to be doing anyway. So sounds like a great plan. Stuart asked, how do you handle the obstacle you run into with a seller that wants to 1031? I got to tell you, I've been doing this for 21 years, and I may have spoken to one or two people. Our typical seller probably doesn't know the term 1031. Now, maybe if you're dealing with investors or people that have been around for a while, but my typical seller, I'd say 99.9% of the time, just doesn't have a clue. I just don't get that question. I mean,
I don't either. I definitely, first of all, I don't generally, if I'm buying from an investor, it's probably overpriced anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't typically get that question.
Hey, Renee, you're an agent, but you're okay. It's no problem. But
with the 1031 though, this is just another sale. It's handled exactly the same. So if they want a 1031, I mean, this is just another sale. This is not anything. There's nothing special. There's no special. There's no magic behind doing a 1031 when you want to buy one of these deals. It's the same thing, same process.
Well, my understanding about how it works, they're probably looking to roll their equity into something else. And most of the deals that we look for aren't going to have substantial equity. I mean, they're just not. Our equity is going to be, their equity is going to be covered the vast majority of the time by our buyer's down payment, period.
Sure.
So, when you're talking about somebody that, and I'm not sure exactly what Stuart was talking about. Maybe he is talking about, sell cash deals, some kind of creative seller financing, maybe in that scenario where you've got somebody that's got a $300,000 house that's pretty much paid for, and they want to 1031. So then obviously all deals aren't going to work, and that's just not going to work. And I'm not prepared to go to the bank and get financing. I decided a long time ago I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I might be able to, but I'm just not going to, because I'm not going to pay the excessive fees and deal with the stress and everything of that when somebody can just sign a piece of paper and give me a house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So some deals just won't work.
Yeah. Some of those situations, like I said, this doesn't come up very often at all.
Yeah. Tanya, yes, it sounds like with Jeff's advocacy program, the seller is doing some subsidizing. Of course, they're subsidizing anyway if tenant's not paying.
100%. How much longer are they willing to put up with that?
Yeah, that's right. You can either pay and fix it now, or you can ride on for the next however long they extend it. So, I don't know if they've actually done it yet. I knew that they were talking about extending the foreclosure moratorium till the end of June. So, I mean, the eviction is it's right behind it. Mm-hmm. If it hasn't already. I think some cities already have extended it to the summer. So anyway, all right. So let's see what we got. You got time, Jeff? We can stay on here a little longer.
100%. I've got
great,
plenty of time.
Okay. Tammy asked a question. She said she'd love to hear at least William Bronschick's advice on tabletop closings, because she thinks he says to always use an attorney. I'll tell you, Tammy, Bill Bronschick has been my teacher since I got started. And, all attorneys are going to recommend that you use an attorney. And I recommend that you use one too, until you know what you're doing. Some people may need to use one forever, and that's a comfort level. You've got to decide if that's something that works for you. I started doing most closings on my own out of necessity because of speed. We dealt with so many foreclosures, especially when I was in Georgia, when the foreclosure window, the entire window was 30 days. You didn't have time to play around, and a 3-week closing or title, company can't get to you. You just didn't have time for that stuff. So I think if Bill were here, he would say, do what you got to do. Yeah, we recommend you use an attorney. I think they have to because they're licensed. But the truth is that, 95% of our buys, now we do 100% closing on the sell side with a lawyer always. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But on the buy side, 95% you can do with a notary. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, there are basically two scenarios where, well, if you're new in this business or new to creative deals, 100%, both sides, I would always recommend using an attorney. It can be, I mean, I didn't do it. I had to kind of teach myself how to do this, and I definitely made some mistakes, with quitclaim deeds and all this stuff. But definitely, if you're new, definitely talk to an attorney. There is just so much out there that, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to look up title, if you don't have the right contacts to pull title for you, then you're just going to want to use a closing company. Yeah. Two scenarios where a title company is probably not going to be an option for you, and one of those can be. It can be kind of molded to the situation, but one is like William said. One is if speed is if time is of the essence here, and you've got a property going to auction, 100%. You're going to do the very, very best you can. In fact, there have been times where I just went ahead and got the deed, and then I would go pull title and clear title up that way, just because I needed to get that property
absolutely
under control. So
those are the people that are flighty and stuff's going on. They don't live in the house anymore. You have trouble getting in touch with them. You get that deed and that power of attorney, and then you go back and do the closing later. At least then you own the house and you've got what you need to do business. Yeah.
So speed is the first condition. The second condition, and you're going to find this a lot if you're new in the business and you just don't have the network, you're going to find that title companies are going to just stare at you. They're going to look at you sideways. They're not going to know what you're talking about, and they're not going to close your deal for you because they don't understand that you can exclude that lien out of that title policy, or some of them will even cover that lien.
Yeah.
So, so that's the other scenario where you're going to find a kitchen table closing comes in very, very handy. And in that situation, I would also recommend that you just go ahead and go to your mom and or your run of the mill title company, your retail title company. Go ahead and have title pulled and tell them that you would like to pay for that service, for them to pull that title for you. And make sure that you ask for a 100%, just a full and complete title search, as if they're going to underwrite a policy for you. You're not going to be buying a policy from them, obviously, because they're not willing to underwrite that policy for you. But at least you have the abstract, and at least you have everything in front of you. You can make an informed decision about whether or not that title is clean.
Right.
And so you can still use, in that situation, you can still use any title company. It's just you're not buying a title policy, and you can still kitchen table close that deal.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, Josh, good to see you. Jared Corey, glad to see you on here. Corey asks, what have you found has been the most effective form of marketing? And also, what do you recommend as lower cost marketing for someone getting started? I'll tell you, you guys, we had somebody in the group recently that just said, hey, you know, I'm closing on this deal from a bandit sign. And how many times do you hear lately, oh, bandit signs don't work? Cold calling doesn't work. I mean, those are super cheap methods that do work. They absolutely do work. PropStream, it's $100 a month. You can pull 10,000 leads, skip them, pick up the phone. Nicholas Nick with Lead Mining Pros. Hey, Nick, if you're on here, good to see you. He just gave me a code for all Sub2 students. You guys can get 500 free leads. He'll pull the leads for you and do the skips for you absolutely free. It's $60, but it doesn't cost you a nickel. Just use the code and go get them. That's 500 free leads. Pick up the phone and start dialing. That's the first thing I would do, is just start calling, driving for dollars, like Jeff said earlier. Skip trace those addresses, put out some bandit signs, get some magnetics on your car. They're $30. It's a one-time payment. I've made 6 figures off of magnetics. People stop you, leave a note on your car. You know, cheap and free marketing. And it's old school. It's you know, it's basic stuff, but it works. And if you don't have money otherwise, do it. You know, just do it.
Yeah, the obvious. I mean, driving for dollars. There's still, and the way that we can explain this is the way it was taught to me. And you either have time or you have money. There's a trade-off, a direct trade-off or direct correlation between those two. And if you don't have the funds to go out and do these elaborate marketing campaigns, you're going to have to make your time available.
Yeah.
And 100%, you know, driving for dollars, picking up the phone, calling FSBOs. As far as the most, gosh, it's hard to say right now what is the most effective because we got so much going on. But I still love driving for dollars. And what we've got to at this point is we actually have a whole program for our bandit signs. So, or for bird dogs, you know. Bird dogging. It's a fantastic way to, I mean, simply all you're doing is networking with other folks, and they're going out and finding you properties. You don't necessarily have to pay them up front. You can work out a payment plan on any deals that you get. And, you know, that's a great resource as well. It's totally free.
Yep. I agree. Hey, Terry said, if you're broke, go to RIA meetings and offer services for training. Try to work with somebody. You know, meet somebody like Jeff at the meeting and say, hey, you know, I want to learn what you got. I can do for free. You know, he'll probably do a little bit of teaching for you. I don't know. He's pretty high dollar now. He may not. But really, you know, network with people and just ask questions. You know, go hang out at those RIAs. I think that's a great idea. And just meet people. Just sit there your first couple of meetings and watch. It won't take you long to figure out who the players are. You know, so.
Can I tell you the greatest resource for me right now for leads, and it has been for probably the last year, probably anywhere from 50 to 60% of all deals that I have done in the last year have all come through referrals.
Yep.
So networking it's definitely a long play game. It takes a while to build up a reputation, or you know, it takes a while to build up that credibility. But man, you really, really need to be talking to people. And we talked about agents. I'm going to give you an example here of something that recently happened to me that is going to make me quite a bit of money. And that is, I have a broker that contacted me. This has been about a year ago, and I was actually on their podcast. But broker contacted me. He knew exactly what I did because I make it known to everybody that this is what I do. I'm a creative financing guy. And he contacted me and said, hey, he runs a brokerage, and he also runs a side house buying business. He contacted me and said, hey, we get all of these leads coming in, and I've heard about Subject2, but I don't know what the heck to do. I don't know how to handle this. And I said, well, let's talk about me handling that for you. You bring me those leads, you bring them qualified. I've given them a little bit of training on what to look for and how to present it to a seller. I set up an automatic calendar system, so I don't have to for them to go in and schedule an appointment for me based on my free time. And so they now send me these leads. I just get an appointment, on for all of these pre-qualified leads. And so that's just another aspect of this whole networking thing. You just never know with the people in this business. You just never know what their goals are and what it is that they're wanting to do, or what they're not wanting to do. This guy in particular, he did not want to have another arm of his business where he had to go out and now try to close these Subject2 deals that he knew nothing about. He didn't want to have to go out and learn how to do this and be an expert at it. Mm-hmm. So the deal that we worked out, I'll just tell you the percentages. I get a lead in my inbox. I go out on the appointment. If I get it under contract, I become a 30% equity member of that Subject2, an equity partner in that deal. So he gets 70%. I went out, got it under contract. I closed it for him. Boom, I'm done. I know I have no other, I'm not putting any money into it. I'm not doing any of this. I simply closed that deal for him. And now I'm a 30% equity partner for the life, for however long they own that property. So I just get a check.
Yeah.
So networking is, it's a long play. You definitely, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is super, super important. And like I said, number one source of leads for me. Yeah. 100%.
I agree. Eugene asked where to find a Sub2 attorney. And I'll tell you, Eugene, I think we're going to wrap it up with this one. Anybody that we didn't get to, I think Jeff will help me come back in and answer some questions in the post. But that goes back to what we were talking about earlier on doing your own closings, learning to do a kitchen table closing. There are some parts of the country where literally title companies and attorneys won't touch a Sub2. I know we've got students in the Baltimore area who have big problems with that, finding people to do it. My advice to you, if you're new and you're looking for somebody, is go to the RIA meetings, network with other investors. They will lead you to the person in the area that will do that sort of thing. And just make sure, and I tell people this all the time, you may not prefer to do a kitchen table closing. Again, it's like Terry's commented here in the comments that they use an attorney for every closing. It costs her $650. It's well worth it for the peace of mind. And I get it. Everybody's got their thing, what they're comfortable with, their comfort level. But there may be a time when you can't get something done. Your attorney is out of, they're on vacation. It's the one in town that'll do it. Somebody's going to the auction tomorrow. They call you at the last minute. I want to sell right now. Can we do it? I guarantee you, Terry probably knows how to do a kitchen table closing, whether she prefers to or not, because she's a smart investor and she buys a lot of houses. But so use an attorney if that's your comfort level. If doing it yourself, if you're a risk taker or a rule breaker like me or Jeff or whoever, but learn the process whether you plan on doing it or not, because there may come a time that you have to. But how do you find that attorney? Network with other investors, go to the RIA meetings, or just I think I watched a Ron LeGrand video once, and he answered that question: how do you find an attorney for creative deals? He said, you see the phone book, pick it up, start calling them. Do you do this? No, click. Do you do this? Yes, you're my guy. And that's it. Go down the list. You'll find the person that'll do it. Somebody there will do it. Chances are it may take you a while to find them, but But try those things. They'll work for you. Anyway, that's what I would do for it. So Jeff, man, I appreciate you so much for being here today. Hey, I had a really good time, and I think everybody else did too. I know there were a ton of questions here we didn't get to, but we're gonna come in and answer those in the post. So we should do this more often.
100%. I had fun. I'm one that's actually the reason why I started coaching students, because I love to spill my guts on this stuff. I really do. It's a lot of fun. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is that most investors really like to talk about real estate. And most of the people we know, family, friends, whatever, you start talking about real estate, they go, oh no, you're going to try to suck me. I literally had a guy tell me one time, no, you're not pulling me into the real estate vortex. I'm not, so anyway, great. So man, we appreciate you. Like I said, Jeff's over at Sub2 Empire, a great teacher. And there aren't enough people to learn from, good people. A lot of people teach it, but I'm telling you, there's some I wouldn't. Be careful if I listen to him, but Jeff's not one of those guys. He's safe, so go check him out.
That, man.
All right, guys, we're going to let you go. Have a great day. Talk to some sellers, buy some houses. I'm going to try to figure out how to stop this thing, and we'll catch you next time. So,
take care.
All right, bye-bye.